Rated E for everyone.
Welcome to the Gin Rummy Tips and Strategies Guide. My name is Christine Catley, Associate Brand Manager of Gin Rummy on XBLA. Today, I'm going to teach you how to strategically play this classic card game and give you some tips on how to knock out your opponents. Gin Rummy is all about constant vigilance and staying alert to every move made in the game. Tip number 1, be alert to the cards that are discarded and picked up. If your opponent discards a card, he obviously doesn't need it. Always be aware of what cards are thrown away into the discard pile. Here, your opponent just threw a 10 of hearts, and now it's your turn. Based on the cards that you have in your deadwood, you should discard the 10 of spades, since you know that your opponent will most likely not pick it up. Tip number 2, draw from the stockpile whenever possible. Be aware that your opponent is also watching what you pick up, so it is generally better to draw from the stockpile instead of the discard pile. Doing this makes it more difficult for your opponent to figure out what cards you have in your hand and what cards you need. Tip number 3, take a low card, throw a high card. In Gin Rummy, the aim of the game is to have the least amount of deadwood points as possible to avoid getting caught with a poor hand of high cards. When you suspect an imminent knocking from your opponent, it may be worth drawing a low card from the discard pile and throwing any of your high-value deadwood so that you can come closer to knocking before he does. Here, we've been playing for several hands now, and I have a deadwood score of 33 points. If I take his 5 and I discard my 8 of spades, this will lower my deadwood to 30, and it also gives me a better chance of forming a run with a 4 or 7 of spades. Tip number 4, keep your lucky 7s to form runs. Middle cards such as 5, 6, 7, 8 are more important than low cards or face cards because they can be used in more variations of sets or runs. For example, an ace is a good card to have because it is only worth 1 point, but that ace can only form a run with a 2-3. The 7, on the other hand, can be used in the most combinations as compared to any other card in the deck. It is the most valuable card in the deck because it can form a run with a 5-6, a 6-8, an 8-9, or even longer runs. Tip number 5, knock early. One of the most important strategies to learn is to try to knock early. It's the best to catch your rummy opponents off guard and to accumulate your points by knocking instead of waiting for a gin hand. Knocking early also avoids the risk of being undercut later on in the game. So now that you've learned a few helpful tips on how to play the game, you should have no problem becoming a Rummy Master on Xbox Live Arcade. Download the game today for a knockout time.